Thomas, thank you for your time. I've been wanting to get you on to interview you for a while. The way that we met was through Peter Rowell, who's a construction attorney helping some homeowners deal with, I think, a defective claim. And at the time was presented your engineering report, which I was very impressed by, which got me interested in, getting you on the podcast and talking about your experience, et cetera. Do you mind telling me a little bit about your past and your history and experience?
Sure. First began working as a landscaper. A couple of years of that brought me to college, and I worked for a year as a concrete laborer. While I was in college, working on my first degree, I was lucky enough to get into the Carpenters Union, which is always something that interested me. And as a carpenter, I learned pretty quickly here it was very hot, too hot to be working outside all year round. And there was my brother had an idea that I should become a computer programmer. That sounded like an interesting opportunity. So I went back to school and studied computer science for a couple of years, but I got distracted again in a way and became a home inspector. I thought as a part-time job, which turned out to be about 80 hours a week. So
not so part-time.
It was a little more than part-time, but I enjoyed that. That was like a combination of my construction experience and some of the engineering things I learned. So eventually the thought came to my mind that I would try to take and pass the professional engineer's license exam. Eventually did get the PE license while I operated my own home inspection company. I also work for a number of builders in a quality assurance type of situation where they want to make sure their subcontractors are putting the building together and they're getting what they paid for before they turn a 10 or 20, $30 million building over to the new owner. That's where I've been for the last 10 years or so.
So where have you spent most of your time, I would say more recently, and in regards to serving as an expert witness and writing the engineering reports? How many of those do you typically do a year?
I would say in the last 5 years, I've done about 250 case-related investigations and reports.
Okay, excellent. And is that something you enjoy doing? I mean, compared to the rest of the caseload, like what's the most exciting for you?
I like the idea that it's a new building that I'm looking at every day. It's a new problem I'm looking for. It's never redundant. It's never the same exact situation. So.
And are you ever getting into like because obviously as a home inspector, from my understanding, you're not supposed to move the refrigerator. I think I've even heard like a carpet or something like that. Or there's certain things you're not allowed to touch. Obviously, when you're inspecting defective work, you may say that you need more access to judge, to get behind the walls or to get deeper into the structure to determine where the root cause is from. What does that typically look like for you? Like when that comes up where you're not able to see enough, what happens in those cases?
Well, a lot of the home inspector related claims that we don't move carpet or furniture or things like that are to protect the inspector, because eventually somebody's going to move out all the furniture and see what the house looks like when there's no carpet and when there's no furniture or beds. But it's not that you're not allowed to. It's just there's an industry standard and or standards that tell you don't have to do those things. I find there's a house I looked at on Jupiter Island a few months ago. The furniture in one room costs more than every car I've probably ever owned. But it had beautiful ocean views from your dining room. But I happened to pull a carpet up, and the difference in the color between the floor that was exposed to the sunlight and the original floor color probably cost $150,000 to just replace a couple of rooms of floors.
Was that a wood floor or?
Yeah, it was a wood floor. One general thing I've learned is it's not a great idea to put wood floors in on a first floor slab on grade construction. Probably I'm not a big fan of carpet, but it's probably the least durable choice. If you really like wood, I would suggest you get some type of ceramic tile that looks like wood.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. So I don't know if you know this or not, but we I'm a licensed general contractor, non-practicing. I like to say the only thing I do in the general construction side is just modifications and hurricane straps. We'll make openings bigger, smaller, close them, create them, whatever it may be. It's one of my favorite things to do in construction in general. So combine that with windows and doors, and I'm a happy man. But when we were doing construction, I remember I've always wanted to go deeper and understand. And what I loved about, taking a step back, what I loved about the insurance claim days when I first started was that I can get into figuring out where construction went bad in order to determine how to prevent that in the future. Like, how do I prevent this person's house that I'm at where they had a failure? How do I prevent being that company that had that failure? So I did spend a good amount of time getting into that, and that stuff I truly enjoy. I do not enjoy the report writing. So that's I don't do any inspections, roof inspections, certifications. I don't want to touch it. But that's just not my flavor. But that was one thing that we spent a lot of time on, was taking moisture level readings in slabs before we installed any wood floors or anything like that. But even as far as tile, because if you have high moisture levels, you get efflorescence coming through the tile. But I was amazed by how few contractors ever did a sample for moisture level readings in new construction or in existing construction, even when replacing a bathroom or something like that. But it was interesting that you mentioned that about the wood floors. And yeah, wood floors, I mean, as far as the windows go, the low E coatings will help prevent that. And that's a huge thing. You have these new houses that are all glass. The sun's just coming in. The only thing to prevent the wood floor from fading, as you mentioned, is to basically put a low E coating or a low emissivity coating on the glass, and that helps actually prevent the fading. And as far as the roofing side and the wood floors, whenever somebody has wood floors and we're doing a roof, I'm always concerned about water touching that floor, because as soon as it does, it's potentially a big headache, which I'm sure you've been called into cases like that before as well.
A couple of things. I will just state that I share your disdain for the report writing side.
So I'm not alone.
It makes it miserable. That's the same redundant thing over and over again, which it makes it easier for. I wind up taking longer on reports, and the benefit of that is I do fewer inspections because I don't want to do the same number of reports I used to do. But
that's fine.
One of the things with the moisture meter is it's if there's no. The first time I learned this about a moisture meter, I came in. The guy called, come on in. I had water coming right down the wall. I said, I'll be there tomorrow. Got there, the wall tested dry. And I know the guy wasn't lying to me, but right. The problem with the moisture meter is things dry out and you get a false sense of security. So it's a helpful device, but it's not the end of everything, The interesting thing I thought when you said you wanted to be able to help homes do better during storms, paraphrasing you, in looking at probably 500 storm damaged roofs, almost none of them had closed attics. All of the damage that I found on cases that weren't immediately settled, I believe, is because the attics are vented. And if I asked you, with your knowledge about windows, I told you I was studying climatology and meteorology, and I learned that there's a leeward side of pressure and there's the storm side of the pressure, and the pressure differential can cause the building to move. But I got a theory that if you open two windows on both sides of the house, then the pressure would equalize. Would you think that that's a good idea, to open two windows during a hurricane?
That's interesting, because I make that point a lot. I definitely want to come back to the ventilation conversation, but
this leads right into it.
Okay, all right.
So I was thinking you might say, well, you don't know me that well, but you say, Thomas, I don't know what they're teaching you at school, but if you think you should leave 2 or 4 windows open during a hurricane, then you're an idiot. And I would say, yeah, you're right. So why would you cut 2 to 4 to 6 windows in square feet into the soffit and let that air blow up into your attic? It's not good for the building at all.
What is the most important? And I always say the windows, because if the storm enters the home, that's where the roof structure or the roof itself is usually taken off.
The number one way to be contacted by the homeowner's attorney is by not calling them back and not answering or dealing with their complaints or questions. And then it starts from there. It's almost like a witch hunt.